Hey, what's happening? I don't know what's happening. Hello? Can you hear me? Not a clue. Oh, we're here. Packer, can you see and hear me?
I can see and hear you.
Right, I've got my headphones in, but fuck the headphones. I put the headphones in so that it doesn't keep the misses up because it's like 2:30 in the morning here. I'm sick as a dog, people, as well. And when I spoke to Packer earlier, I said, "Listen, mate, I'm sick as a dog." He went, "Yeah, I'm not well."
I'm not.
Yeah, I haven't. I got about 2 hours sleep last night and none the night before. But I can't go a week without streaming. That's just not fair. I've got members, but there's also some things happening that you need to know about. I also have got a bit more financial literacy, and because I know the sort of position a fair amount of you are in. This is really important information, and it'll be a reaction as well. You won't just have to listen to me like half sick, half functioning, going, "Well, like if you imagine that you had like 4 chickens but only one barn." No, I'll be reacting to someone who knows what they're talking about, and you'll be able to follow it up. And these are the sorts of things that change your life. And if it changes your life, it will likely change your children's lives and your wives' lives or your husband's lives or your parents' lives, your parents who are getting older and sicker. And you're starting to look at your bank account. Like before my mother died, I know this sounds weird, but I've been lucky, right? Your parents are going to die. Maybe one day that won't be a thing. Maybe death isn't inevitable. It's just taxes. It'll be just taxes. But my old man was healthy. He got sick. 3 weeks later, dead. My mum got sick. 10 days later, dead. Now that's lucky because I didn't have to go through years of just watching her or him laying in a bed. Not my old man would have hated that. If you've read my novel, and I have got to talk a little bit about my novel, but I promise you it'll be 2 or 3 minutes. And we're nearly over promoting that novel, by the way. But this is like the end of it. But I have to talk to you about it. But I'll wait till there's a few more people here. It's weird, like 30 people. Is that just because of the timing? What's the timing in the UK? I bet it's about dinner time, isn't it?
It's 7:30, Chris, in the evening.
That was amazing opener. You went, it's about 7:30. And
Try not to cough. I'm not well.
well, I was about to say, what illness have you got?
Well, I've been suffering on and off with some kind of gastro problem for about a year.
C. Right.
And I keep getting like gastroenteritis symptoms. I hadn't eaten. I came home Friday feeling bad, and I didn't eat until today.
No, that's not good, is it? Because when you're sick, I mean, not eating for a couple of days won't make you feel great anyway. So
no, but that's not such an issue because I did this happen before because
that's not such an issue.
It's not such an issue, Christopher.
Is that weird for you to say such?
No, not really.
Who's in the wrong
here?
I
used to say it. Hey?
I know there's no right or wrong, really. There is people. I'm just trying to be nice to him. But is it such?
I grew up saying such.
Yeah, such. Such.
I've lived in Lincolnshire for 20 years.
Do you call that a 70s American cop drama, Starsky and Hutch?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's not get into the details of our illnesses because neither of us are spring chickens anymore. And on the off chance that there's any new people here, they're going to think we're like a couple of old boys going, "Oh, the old tendonitis is playing up." You know, it's just really playing up. So we're both sick as dogs, all right? But there's things you need to know, and I desperately want to tell you. There's 30 odd people here, so I'll leave I don't want to waste this because this could be life changing. Going back to my mother and my father, you know that other people, if you're rich, you're all right. I mean, it's still painful watching family die, obviously, but if you're rich, you can get. I've got to put my fan on. But then I'll have to turn it off because my skin freezes. So it'll be a bit on, off, as far as the old fan goes. But, and you know, like people can't afford nursing homes, caring homes. Also, I was so concerned, some might say paranoid, about putting my mother in a care home. I know you work in one, Packer, but I've just, and you all know why. I don't have to go into the details about this, but you all know why I'd be a little bit more relaxed about putting my mother. I mean, she's dead, people. If you don't know, she died a few years ago. But if she was sick and she couldn't work and she couldn't look after herself, I've either got to leave my life here, go and live with my mother, and take my missus, live in shithole Dartford and all the things that means, and you know, and I admire people who do that. And if you can't afford a care home, but even so, putting my mother in a care home in the London area, you know, we all know what the first thing that come to mind was, and it's, you know, we've seen the videos. Nah, man, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So, so having a few quid can be really helpful. You know, you can get a private nurse and things. And let me give you an example. I'll start with an example. This is essentially a reaction video. I'm going to react to two videos. One about how you can be richer than you are without doing much more. How the government are essentially taking money off you because they know you're probably financially illiterate. And these aren't things that I'm an expert at. They're just things that I've learned on the way. And this new YouTube channel, this bird's just laying it all out there. Now, I'm sure there's others, but what YouTube at the moment is turning into a place where they give you a little bit of information. And just when it sort of piques your interest, they're like, so if you want to buy the rest of the course, it's only 40 quid a month. And you're like, eesh. Some of them, in fairness, get the balance right and give you some good information and then offer you the course. So the only investing channel I watch now is Jeremy Lefevre. Like, he's 32, he's worth something like 40 million. When he was 26, he was flipping burgers, you know, and it's a really interesting bloke, actually. I don't know why he's making videos like two or three a day though. If I was worth 40 mil, like he's got a couple of Lambos and all that lark. Like, he's not a blagger. He doesn't sit there going, "You know, I've got women." You know, he's got a nice family, he's got a nice house, and he's got a nice quality of life. But he does make a lot of YouTube videos. Although a lot of these investing channels, they have like groups, like, you know, different level groups. You can join the silver, gold, or platinum group. And I've done the maths on one of them. I think it was Tom Nash, and I worked out. Now, I'm going to say allegedly here because I don't know if it was Tom Nash, and I'm not great with the maths. I'm pretty certain though. Just he's got something like 20,000 people in his private group, and the private group is $30 a month. So let's just do the maths on that. How can we sort this out? Hang on, I've just screwed everything up. I'm going to pop this over here, and I'm going to put that on there. Oh, got a slightly different angle on things. Oh yeah. Still a bit too much tit though. Sorry about the no shirt. It just gets soaked. I mean, I'll tell you. Right, so let's just do this quickly. I'll make it so that you can see it, because that'll be entertaining. That'll be like using the internet. Look at me without my green screen, Packer. It looks like I'm being filmed in black and white. Right, so let's say $30. Let's hide that. $30 times 20 foul is that much, $600,000 a month. Let's times that by 12. Just over 7 million a year. And that's just on subscriptions. And they'll come and go. You know, there'll be the odd month where people are, you know, 5,000 people will sign up. and just give them a little boost. It's quite funny because a lot of most, I don't think there's a single investment channel where they don't do a course. And if you've got the knowledge and Jeremy has got a public account and he's shown you it go from next to nothing to like 5 mil in a few years. That has been covered live. He's had a few misses, but he's had a few hits, to go from something like 100,000 to a few mil. So yeah, so he's making that. It's weird when they're like, don't sell shares when the market's going down. You've got to. That's when you've got to ride it out. And I'm like, stock market don't really mean much to you anymore, though, does it? Let's divide that in two, so that as if we're so that we're not overestimating. So I've cut that in half. And then we'll put it on 10 years. So in 10 years, a real underestimation, 36 million. Now, you will say, oh, yeah, but what about the tax? You think these people are financially illiterate? No. He will not be paying top whack tax on that. And this is what I want to talk to you about. I'll certainly introduce you to. I'm going to give you a little example, something I'd done. And it was only because I had an account, I had a bookkeeper who actually suggested it. So check this out. I had a company that done well. I set it up myself, no money. Lovely to see people turning up. Hello, Chibby Wibby. Are you new around here? Anyone new? Just introduce yourself, say I'm new here. And everyone will say hello to you, because this community has been building up over 10 years and we're nice people, and you don't have to agree with anything anyone says, but be adult and have a bit of integrity. But if you say hello and I'm new, you'll get loads of people say hello. Yeah, the rule of the dance is new. Say hello to rule of the dance, people. There you go, Packer said one. Hoyt, nice one, rule of the dance. Seen a couple, people take them back, delete them. Oh, I remember Hikaru, of course. Jeremy Lefebvre. So you won't be able to miss him, actually. If you just type in Jeremy and then investments, you'll find his channel, Jeremy Lefebvre, Lefevre. But check that out. So, yeah. Sorry, I was only joking. Not new, but a new name. Yes, it's another borderline case. Right, I'll take all that back. If you're new, welcome. It's a privilege and an honour to be part of it. They are disastrously low numbers. I don't usually stream this late. It's like I say, it's now 2:45 a.m. for me. But that's all right. Hello, John Palmer. All right, mate. Tricky Woos on the phone. 42. Spanish chicken. Mouse cat. Oh, mouse cat. You've got to get on Threads, man. Get on Threads. Go to author Threads. And then just drop in sort of Socratic post-Derridian questions. What's the difference between editing and writing? It sends them nuts. They cannot handle it because they're all writers. I'm a writer. And they can't handle it. They're like, well, it's obvious, isn't it? Writing is when you write a book and an editor makes it better. And I'm like, yeah, but what do you actually do? Sort of add, remove, and rearrange words, yeah? And they go, what, an editor or a writer? And I go, well, you tell me. And then like other ones, like I literally said, writers are not special. Now, everyone's special, but when everyone's special, no one's special. But they can't handle it. Yes, they fucking are. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, but only, like anyone is. You're not some kind of sort of ethereal, and they go, well, why do you write then? I go, well, I like to connect people. I'm a storyteller, And they're like, what? You grew up and thought, I want to be a storyteller. And I'm like, yeah, you've just exposed everything. You grew up and thought, I want to be a writer. And and that's much different from wanting to tell stories. That's an identity. I don't want to have the identity of being a writer. It's not that I don't want that, but I want to tell stories. By the way, people, new Substack went out today. It's fucking brilliant. It's so good. It's a true story of when I got, well, I won't tell you anything, but it deviates. We go through my dad and Steve McQueen, grass track racing. We talk about Charlie Sarchi's Sensations exhibition. We talk about me being a mid mid range crack dealer. We talk about the old Bill. It's a great story. It's you'll find it on my Substack. I'll put it as the main one, but I haven't had a chance to do that because, like I said, I'm sick and I'm ill. I'm sick and ill. But anyway, Mousecat, get on Threads when you get if you get time. You don't even have to join. Just have a look. Go to author threads. They're so easily annoyed because they're all there patting each other on the back and they're asking. It's such engagement bait. Hey, people, in one sentence, how would you describe your main character? And they're all loving it. They're like, oh, well, strong but gentle, surprisingly emotional. So, what? They might as well it might as well be a writer's wanking group. I'm sitting there and look, this might come across a bit snobby, but when I look back at groups like Tel Quel, which is Nietzsche's name for eternal return, an idea of culture that is cyclical. I think that's where Tel Quel comes from, but it means eternal return. It was like Jacques Lacan, Jacques Derrida, Julia Kristeva, like proper big guns, and they met and they discussed things. The Frankfurt School. I know a lot of you are like, oh man, you and your Jewish Marxists. Listen, I'm not interested in their solutions. I couldn't be less interested in their solutions, but their analysis are spot on. Same with Marx. Marx's solution, what communism, the abolition of private property, it's a no from me. It's a hard no. But the analysis of capitalism is spot on. And I refuse to be an idiot and throw the baby out with the bathwater. I've said this on this channel probably more than anything else ever. Adorno and Horkheimer's critique of mass culture in The Dialectic of Enlightenment, the essay called The Culture Industry, which was written, I'd guess now, about 80 or 90 years ago. Yeah, I think that's fair. 80. You find me a better analysis of contemporary mass culture. And I mean that. It's not a rhetorical thing. If you can find me that analysis, I'd love to read it because they wrote that then, and it's just because Adorno went off to America and wrote The Authoritarian Personality, where people had to answer questionnaires to find out how fascist they were. Like, yeah, like, no. And it's like Foucault. I hear Jordan Peterson banging on about Foucault all the time. I mean, Foucault, one of the worst postmodernists, was postmodern about Foucault. He's a fucking historian. What, Birth of the Clinic, Madness and Civilization, Discipline and Punish. Yeah, they don't sound that postmodern. The Order of Things, which in the French is Les Mots et les Choses. Sorry, Lars, for my murdering of the French. The book's called Words and Things, which is the best book title ever. The geezer was a historian. These crazy postmodernists. Oh, it's absurd. John Palmer says that. I won't read it out, but it's not the case. But Jacques Derrida is a phenomena. After Socrates, through Hegel, Nietzsche, Heidegger, you kind of thought it was all over, really, in terms of big guns. Descartes, of course. René Descartes, Rousseau, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. It was kind of all over in terms of people being able to make huge chasms, like causing an actual catastrophe in the actual modes of thought of an era. And then in 1968, Derrida publishes 3 books and changes things forever. What's that noise, Packer?
I don't know. Oh, it's probably my Mrs. Telly. Hang on, I'll mute myself. Or shall I kick her out?
No, don't kick her out. Just mute yourself when I'm talking all the time. But I'll remind you not to mute yourself. Mute yourself? What? I don't know what that means. Right. So, people, let me tell you. Let me give you a little explanation, and then we'll get into this first response reaction video. So, I set up a company on no money, a borrowed computer, and a lot of encouragement and help from a friend. It's a true story. 21 years ago. It was 20 years ago today. I've just got to get my water. Unmute yourself, Packer. It's time to carry the stream.
Am I in charge of the show?
Yep.
Jolly good. Well, welcome to all the new members, obviously, and you'll soon find out this is probably the most you'll ever hear from me. I've no idea what we're going to be doing or what these videos are. Trial Sand Lemon, are you new?
You were fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, excuse me. So, thank you, Packer. Appreciated it. Well, carry on, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you if you were talking. Monster Traps, did you not get a notification, or you new around here? Trials and Lemon says that noise is his monolith next to him. Yeah, what is that? It's a new thing, isn't it? It's like some kind of Egyptian sphincter with like a pirate's hat. Is that new?
No, he's been there all the time. He's a big statue of a panther with a pirate hat on for no particular reason.
And let's not pretend you haven't got a name for it.
Jay.
Who?
His name's Jay.
Jay?
Yeah, Jay. Jay.
You just call it Jay, do you?
Yeah.
Oh.
What about your cat?
Right, there's enough people now. Hello, Jay. It's a fair question. Did it come with the app? No? Did you have to go into a shop and say, I need a hat for my cat Jay? Yeah, you are sick, man. That's that.
It's my hat.
Anyway, Monster Trap said, I'm not new. I've dipped in and out over the years. Is that what she said? Sorry. Ugly Truth is on the firm. Lovely. Bob V. Jagar. I'm going to take you to a Jagar. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. It's a pleasure. Hello, Brad. My lesson on Foucault was great. I'm torn between taking an MA in history at Birkbeck. Birkbeck, as you almost certainly know, is the gayest university in England. You know, so if you play for that team, UCL Kings or maybe the Vice Pit of London School of Economics. I'm so far out of that picture, I wouldn't know, but history is an interesting one because at an MA, are you talking about taught or research masters? Anyway, a conversation for another day. Maybe we'll hook up over on Substack. So people, don't forget, hope you're well, Brad, as well. I see you're very busy over on Substack. Hello, Ludwig, good to see you. Right, listen, my shilling of my novel is going to come to an end, but I've got something important to say. Next week it goes live. No, it goes wide. It's already available in Blackwell's. You can order it online from Blackwell's. It's already propagated in one of the biggest bookshops on the internet. It's already propagated in Waterstones. It's not available But once I get the proof copy, which arrives Monday, and it's the same quality as this, and I press the button, bookshops all over the world, your Waterstones, your Blackwells, Foyles, all the independents, all the libraries, if they want it, they can go to Gardeners, which is like the central hub. It's the final boss of ordering books. And they can type in Love in the Time of Nudie Mags or Chris Dangerfield, and there it is. And they can press order 5, order 10, order 1,000. They'll get them delivered. They'll get a invoice. They'll pay the invoice, and that's how it works. It's not like the old days where you have like 5 boxes of books in your back room, and you sort of go to Waterstones and go on, give us £5 for it. You can sell it for a tenner. So I go wide, but part of going wide, part of what makes it work is that your launch on Amazon has gone well. Now, my launch on Amazon has been spectacular. #1 in new releases. You literally can't ask for more than that in the new release bracket, because there's only number 0 above that. Number 0 is actually below that. So I was quite happy with being #1 in new releases. I was also number 81 in hot new releases in British literary fiction. Now listen, any prick can get #1 in a category. Like, I've got a friend, she wrote a book and it's #1 in, I think it's something like Zen comedy. You know, how many people writing books in Zen comedy? So to get number 81 in British and Irish literary fiction, it now says in my description, a top 100 bestseller in British and Irish literary fiction. Yesterday, I changed my categories around because I'm going wide. That's what they call it when you're leaving Amazon. I'm not leaving Amazon, but it'll be available in bookshops as well. And I was 129 in biographies and autobiographic fiction. And now that is another really hard category. I'll tell you why. Because I'm competing with Kanye West. I'm competing with Kim Kardashian. You know, publishers love people like that, because if they release a book, Jeremy Clarkson, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's already had about 10 books out written by a ghostwriter. You know, because people like those, they're like celebrities, and they'll probably do a couple of 100,000 in every country. So it's just nailed on. Now, yesterday I was 129 in autobiographical fiction, which is a contradiction. But I've only got to do probably about 10 books. It's weird how Amazon works. It's not about the amount of books, it's about velocity spikes. I've only got to do about 10 books in the next 24 hours to get back down and possibly in that top 100, which then you get in a feedback loop, because they make you more. Well, you know, say someone wants to buy an autobiography, they click autobiographies, then they click top autobiographies, and that's where your book is. And my book's cover and the title does a lot of heavy lifting. That's why it got to #1 in new releases. And then you're in a feedback loop. More people buy it, they make it more visible. More people buy it, they make it more visible. And then you get more reviews. You know, I think I'm now on 38 or 39 reviews. If you bought it and you haven't reviewed it, please do that. That helps like nobody's business, especially when it goes wide. But this is what I'm going to say to you, and this will be the end of all this. If you've decided to buy the book but just haven't got round to it, and if you've enjoyed the 10 years I've been streaming and you want to thank me for that 10 years, the best thing you could do, and I mean life changing, this could change my life. You know, I could end up paying for my living as a writer. And it could be something as simple as getting in that top 100 for autobiographical fiction. So I'm not trying to tell you to buy it if you don't want to, but if you've already decided but not got round to it, you would be helping me out like you would never know if you got that done like within the next day. There's a link in the description. Wherever you are in the world, click that link. It will take you to your Amazon. So I just wanted to say that you're not just buying my book, it's an investment in changing my life. And I think I've been quite generous over the years. I think I've done a lot of streams throughout COVID, sometimes 3 a day. So that's just the truth. I think I should be honest and tell you why I put it out on all my social media yesterday. We nearly got there. It got to 129. That could have been 2 more books, could have been the difference between it being number 70 or something. So if you've decided on getting it, or you bought it and you're going to buy a copy for a mate, get it done. And man, I'll make you a promise. I will make you all a promise. If I get in that top 100 of autobiographical fiction, I'll do an 8-hour stream next weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. Packer, you won't have to do that, mate. There'll be no obligation. You're welcome, though, of course. Yeah, fair play. But yeah, and I'll also, it won't just be me gabbing for 8 hours. I'll get a lot of clips sorted out. We'll have a bit of a laugh. We'll get some guests on. We'll have a celebration party. So it'll probably mean selling about 10, 15 copies. It could be as little as 5, but now I've convinced you why. So there you go. That's that. That's the end of that. Right. Literal financial literacy. So I set up a company 20 years ago, and when I got a decent bookkeeper, she said, right, I'm gonna just audit the company, just see how it all works, and then she said, then I'll have meetings with you all. Now I don't work there anymore because I'm trying to make it as a professional writer, and I need the pressure. There's no point. When I wrote that, it nearly killed me because I was writing that, I was running the business, and you can't, and promoting it when you know. And so I thought, well, it's either now or never. So I don't work there anymore. But when I did years ago, she came to me and she said, right, at the moment, your company pays you what is essentially a salary, and you're getting taxed at a very high rate because your business is doing well. And she said, what you want to do is set up another company that essentially does nothing. But that's your company. It represents you. It's a limited company, limited liability, which means if anything happens like bankruptcy, I'm not bankrupt, the company is. And the other company is a limited company as well. And she said, then rather than you getting paid a salary where you're allowed something like 12 grand a year before they tax you, then as soon as you hit like 35 or 40 grand, it's 20% they want. And then if you hit 60 grand, which 15 years ago I was, then it goes up to something like 40% of your earnings. What? Nearly half of it. It's mad. And this is why I'm going to respond to this video. It's about education. Kids who went to Eton and Radley and all that lot, they have lessons in this sort of stuff as if their father hasn't already sat them down when they were like 13 and gone through it all, when they got their first paper round, like. But she said, right, so what we're going to do, we're going to set you up another company, and then you're going to stop working for your own company. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what witchcraft is this? And she said, then your new company is going to work for the company you own. And then the company you own is then going to pay your new company what you invoice it. So if 1 month you and your business partner agree that you're going to get paid 3 grand, you invoice it for 3 grand, That's for services rendered. You've worked £3,000. You've done £3,000 worth of work for the main business, and so that gets paid into your second business. But that's not a salary. That's just a business that's collecting money from another business. And then that second business, I don't pay myself a salary because I get fucked by the tax system. I take dividends from it, and dividends are taxed at some. I mean, Starmer's trying to fuck it all up like the rest of the country, and things are changing. But I was at the height of that business when I was, spending £4,000 on suits and £800 on a pair of boots and seeing 3 whores a day and just spunking all my money. I was paying incredible tax bills. Like, it'd come around to April, my accountant would say, "Oh yeah, you've got to find 80 grand." I'd be like, "What? What? 80 grand? What's that?" And they go, "Income tax." And then it'll be corporation tax. And it's just like, wow, this is jokes, man. After the bookkeeper set up this and it's not illegal, it's not even a loophole, it's just knowing about it. I would say for sure there are people here who've got their own businesses, who are paying themselves a salary. And if they simply set up that second business thing, you would save probably 30, 40, 50% of the tax you're paying. And it's just not knowing, because they don't want you to know. Do you know why? Because they want to take more money off you. And that's what this woman's going to tell you about. And we're going to have a look at it now. This is incredible. I will show you the. I haven't
Hang
got
on,
me.
Chris, Mrs.
Yeah.
Meanit's just put a thing on. That's how my brother got caught 2 years ago for 90k with exactly the same advice.
What do you mean? I'm lost.
Oh, Mrs. Meanit has put Dangerfield, Chris, careful. That's how. There you go.
No, Mrs. Meanit, it's not illegal. Everyone does it. I was talking to a geezer today who's a financial advisor, and I can show. Well, my phone's being charged. No, I didn't get caught. I think maybe I'm reading it wrongly. Or are you saying that it's not illegal? Everyone does it. It's not a loophole. It's allowed. People who are financially literate do it. What he might have done was doing it wrong. He might have been taking a salary from the second company, and in that case, you're just going to get taxed like you would from the first one. It's not illegal. 100% it's not legal. I wouldn't do it. I pay all my taxes because I can't be doing all that chasing me around. It's lovely to see you though. It's been a while. Hello, Mega Essex boy. Nice time of day for you, this one, isn't it? Special case, it depends what country you're in. Yeah, it is, and we're going to get onto that because there's something else about that a bit later. Hello, Special K. Oh, Osmeister dropped to 2. The cat looks like a leftist. Get rid of it. Well, that's not very nice, is it? Old J boy there. Put him on the right. You watch next stream. There'll be something right wing about that cat. I think it looks Egyptian, like some kind of Egyptian pirate. I don't know. Livy's been on the firm for 18 months. You've been here longer than that, Livy. I know that for sure. 39 minutes talking, £2 donation. That's living all right. Lucky I'm getting my financial. Right, let's have a look at this video because this is something completely different and this is mind-blowing. Here we go. Where is she? Let's put her over here. You've got to subscribe to this woman's channel. I've just been glued to it. Hang on, let's get it back to the beginning. What I would say though, people, don't just go on the internet and then implement these things. You need a decent accountant, but not like a one of these accountants that's sort of like 500 grand a year. No, just someone who knows the basics of tax will be able to tell you these very simple processes. Right, just before we get on, the grift. If you use that thing above Packer Z, that QR code, that's my buy me a coffee. You get a 30-second video reply to that. And I got all them done. I'm up to date on them. If you do use that to make a donation, let us know in the chat. Packer will keep an eye on it, and they'll let me know, and you'll get your moment of glory on the screen. Or there's the old super chats at the bottom of the YouTube. It would be appreciated. It's after 2 a.m, nearly 3 o'clock now. Here we go. Check this out. This blew my mind. It's not a very long video. It's 15 minutes. I'll try not to talk too much, but I wanna make it clear. Mrs. Me in it. It's not illegal. Do you want to come on and tell us what happened? I don't. Are you saying? All right. I don't know what to say. It's like it's a standard thing that people do. If he got nicked and had to pay 96 grand, he done something illegal. It's not illegal to stop working for your company and work for another company that you own and get paid in services and take dividends. It's set up so that you can do that. That's why it exists. Okay, here we go. So check out this woman. She's brilliant. Let me know that you can hear it and that there's no echoes or anything.
People think to get rich, you need to earn more money. You need to work harder, scale the business, get a bigger salary. But here's the secret: the government doesn't.
Is all that right? You can hear it and everything? Everything good? Sweet.
Want you to know. The wealthiest people don't live off income, they live off debt. And not the...
Right, this is key to this whole thing. Not living off income, so not living off of money you're generating, because money you're generating gets taxed. Capital gains, corporation tax, income tax. But imagine you've got assets and they're generating money. You could borrow money, get into debt, spend that money on assets, and then you don't sell the assets even when they go up in value. If you buy an house, even if it goes up in value, you don't sell it. You just borrow on the strength of that asset, as she will explain. So this is the nub of it. You're living off of debt, not assets. Jay Taylor, he comes through with, I hope the next novel is as good as this one, mate. I've been so busy, but catching up with the streams. What a lovely thing to say. Thanks to Lady Godiva. You're enjoying it, are you? Good. Hi. Reading the reviews has been marvellous. I mean, I'm already writing the next one, but as I've been saying to people, if this one had been a disaster and a flop and hadn't have sold well and, hadn't have been reviewed, how difficult would it have been to write the next one? I mean, people do it all the time. You just have to dust yourself down and do better. But the fact that it's been it's far exceeded my expectations. It's making writing the next one a lot easier. And I think people who read my latest Substack, you see the quality of writing that's gone up, even on my Substack, because I'm very confident around my writing, more confident around my writing, which isn't a good thing because I'm a bit arrogant about it anyway. Nice one on the donation, nice one on the compliment. And check this out. But we're talking about living off of debt and not selling your assets, all right? So we'll just go back a bit.
Get a bigger salary. But here's the secret: the government doesn't want you to know. The wealthiest people don't live off income, they live off debt. And not the scary payday loan, can't sleep at night kind of debt. I'm talking about the borrow until you die strategy, where you use assets you already own to access cash without selling, without triggering tax, and without giving up control. In this video, I'll show you how it actually works in the UK, why it's completely legal, and how you can use this strategy to grow your wealth without ever triggering capital gains tax or losing your assets. And the best bit, most people can do a version of this, they just don't realize it yet. And a quick one, before we get into it, if you're finding this useful, make sure you're actually subscribed.
And that's what it's like with most of these tax things. It's not a question of loopholes or mad accountants. It's just, well, we don't educate the lumpen proletariat. We just tax the fuck out of them. We got loads of people coming to our country. We need their money. But if you just learn it, it's sitting there for you. And that, you know, and the government needs to do that. Why would a government need to have systems in place, legal systems in place where people can get rich, stay rich and not pay taxes? Because any nation that wishes to prosper needs rich people. You know, the top 1% of earners in England pay something like 40% of the taxes. The top 1% pays something like 40% of the taxes. I think the top 10% pay something like 60% of the taxes. It's crazy when you see these people like that mad student. Remember that great video where she's talking about the Million Man March or the Million People March? And she says that if the top 1% gave 20% of their earnings, blah, blah, blah. And the geezer says, yeah, but that wouldn't cover Medicaid for a year. And she's like, yeah, but we own the streets. So the government need things like this in place so that rich people stay. But they are all doing the off because Starmer's a communist, allegedly.
Because this channel is basically tax and money stuff. HMRC won't explain properly, but in plain English. And I'd just like to quickly address the elephant in the room. Well, the frog in my throat, more precisely.
Yeah, we're all sick, love.
HMRC loves. They tax your income, they tax your profits, they tax your gains. And if you die, they have a little rummage around your estate and they'll tax it all again. But here's the part most people miss. HMRC does not tax borrowing.
Right, that's key. If you're you get emails all the time saying, oh, you've already been I'm not talking like the Bank of Kuala Lumpur or whatever. Excuse me. Like I get emails from HSBC saying you've already been, I can't remember what the word is because I'm sick. You've already been, what's the word, Packer?
Approved.
Approved, yeah, you've already been approved a 20 grand loan. Now I've ignored them until I watch this video, and I'm going to stop ignoring them because you can just borrow that money, live off it, and, well, as you'll see.
And by borrowing, I mean things like mortgages, business loans, or borrowing against assets like property or investments.
My missus owns land. I bought her land with the money that I got from her mother's house, which wasn't a lot because we weren't rich. I bought my missus land in Cambodia, and she gets things from her bank offering her pre-approved loans. And I've said to her, we're going to have to sort this out. Borrow on your asset. Borrow on that land and live off that money. The value of the land goes up. You're still paying interest, but nowhere near as much as if you were to have to sell that land. You know, imagine we got so skint. Oh, love, we're going to have to sell the land. No, never. Borrow on the strength of it. And well, we'll let the professional continue.
When you borrow money, you haven't earned it. You're not richer. You just access cash that you're expected to pay back, usually plus interest. That's why it's not taxable. Think about it like this. When you get paid your salary at the end of the month, you'll notice that you have a bunch of deductions like income tax and national insurance. It's like your payslip turns up already pre-chewed. But those deductions are HMRC's way of saying, I want a piece of whatever you're getting.
this is key. You don't get taxed on money you borrow. You don't. They can't tax you on off a loan. The government can't say, "Oh, the bank have just given you 25 grand. We're having a bit of that. You haven't earned that. You don't pay income tax on a loan. You don't pay corporation tax. You don't pay capital gains on a loan."
It's a bit like going out for dinner with your partner and they help themselves to chips off your plate. But when you borrow 50 grand against your property or investment, HMRC doesn't care because you're not earning it. You're just accessing it temporarily. So instead of selling and giving HMRC a chunk of your gains, you can borrow against your assets to access the funds you need. And the government doesn't take a penny. Once you understand this, you start spotting where the average person burns tens of thousands for no reason. That's why the wealthiest people don't sell their assets, they borrow against them. And not knowing this is where most people make their first very expensive mistake.
Right here. I've got a mate, and he set up a business. It was gas, like he's a registered Corgi gas bloke. Comes around and sorts out gas fires and gas boilers and all that. Done well, got a mortgage and ended up owning his house. Now the house was worth about 250 grand. And he said, I'm going to sell it, buy a new property and do it up. And, I'm then on the ladder. And his accountant said to him, no. He said, borrow money on the strength of your house that's worth 250,000 to buy your next house. Buy your next house and then rent out your old house. And then you've got two houses instead of one. And yeah, you're going to pay interest on that money. But that interest isn't going to be anywhere near the money you're going to be taking in rent or money you're going to be taking in house prices going up. And yeah, house prices fluctuate, but much like the stock market, they go up and down in an upwards direction. And that's what she keeps saying. The rich don't sell their assets. They borrow against them. So you're essentially saying to the bank, lend me 200 grand. If I can't pay you back, you get that asset. But you make sure you do pay them back. You're not an idiot. And then at the end of the day, you've got two properties. And then what do? You do it again. But now they'll lend you more because you've got two properties. You've got more assets to borrow on. So the next house you buy be like a 5-bedroom detached mansion. And you've got these other two. And you're spending money, the stuff you're going out on and buying nice clothes and taking birds out to bars and things, that's just bank money. That's what the bank has given you that. You're not selling assets so that you can live. You're taking money off the bank so that you can live. It's incredible. And this is how people go from nothing to becoming some of the richest people in the world. Not all rich people have designed something or invented something or patented something. They just know how to most efficiently manage their money and their assets. Whereas the rest of us mugs, myself included, for the first sort of 15 years of my business, I was just giving most of my money to the government.
So, if we already know that borrowing doesn't trigger tax, the next obvious question is this: why does everyone instinctively do the exact opposite? I mean, when you want cash, you usually sell something, right? You sell your time, you sell your property, you sell an investment.
Obviously, when she says you sell your time, she means labour, wage labour. I'll come and do 8 hours if you give me 300 quid. So when you want money to spend, to live on, what do you usually do? You work, you sell assets in terms of a property, or you sell some of your investments in, stock investments or whatever, gold, silver, whatever your investments are. Oh, I need a bit of money to spend, so I'll sell some of my assets. But what she's saying is go to a bank and say, oi, can you give me 30 grand? Because if you sell your time, if you do wage labour, you're getting taxed, and you're getting taxed the fuck out of, like it's Liberty Street. If you sell a property, your capital gains tax is just an absolute liberty. And if you sell an investment, like, imagine you've got investments and you're in it for the long term. Most traders lose money, but long investors, people who go long, people who buy good companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Nvidia, companies that are going to be fine. In 10, 20 years, the stock market has proved, even if you're in index funds or ETFs, in 10, 20 years, historically, you haven't lost money. Even through the 2008 financial crisis, even through the 2022, was it, when it all went pear-shaped? 20 years is such a long time, it can handle them. So you don't, we need money to live on. You don't want to sell your investments because they're growing, they're appreciating. So instead of selling your time, selling your property, or selling your investments, which all incur taxes at ridiculously high amounts, borrow money, because the HMRC do not tax loans,
etc. And look, sometimes selling is the right call. If you need the money, you need the money. It's simple as that. But here's the real cost. The moment you sell an asset, you've turned a paper gain into a real one. That moment right there is where HMRC wakes up and says, now we're interested. And that's when capital gains tax kicks in. So when you sell, the tax bill is immediate, the asset is gone, and it can never grow for you again. It's basically a one-way door. Borrowing, on the other hand, flips that completely. You still get the cash in the form of a loan. You don't trigger a tax event, and best of all,
They are, look, what Mousecat said. No, it isn't Mousecat. It's crazy. It is not common knowledge. HMRC don't want people to know this. It's on the HMRC website, but you've got to be some kind of weird linguistic scientist to even work it out. And most people, they go to the bank and they're like, yeah, I'm a painter and decorator, and they're like, well, what you want to do is get a sole trader bank account, pay yourself a nice salary and keep working and get your pension. And essentially they've fucked you right there and then, as you know, Mousecat.
keep the asset, and it can just sit there. It's gaining value, it's compounding in the background like a well-trained employee who never asks for a pay rise. Now, yes, borrowing has interest, and I'll get onto that shortly, but in many cases that interest is actually cheaper than the tax you pay by selling. And this isn't just theory, it's how the richest people structure their lives. Now, a good example of this, and a famous example, is Elon Musk. Elon Musk doesn't live off salary. He borrows against shares, he avoids selling, and he only triggers tax when it suits him. The scale's different, but the strategy is exactly the same. So don't get distracted by the billionaire bit. UK banks see this every day. Directors borrowing against companies, property owners borrowing against equity, investors borrowing against portfolios. It's not clever, it's just how the tax system treats borrowing.
Borrowing against portfolios is slightly different. You can do it, but you've got fluctuations in portfolios, stocks essentially, which makes it a little bit more complicated, but not impossible. Also, your ISA is the one that's going to cause you problems there. But if you've got a general investment account, you can borrow against that. But again, this isn't something you'll do based on this video. You'd go and talk to an accountant. But that accountant going and seeing an accountant about how to better manage your money could be the best £1,000 hour-and-a-half meeting you've ever spent.
Selling. So let's build directly on what we've already covered. We know that selling triggers tax, borrowing doesn't. Selling permanently shrinks your asset base. You don't have the asset anymore. And at this point, people usually say, yeah, but interest is expensive. And you're not wrong. Borrowing isn't free. It feels expensive, but feelings are a terrible way to make tax decisions, because it's sure as hell not as expensive as tax. Let's say you've got an asset that's gone up in value and you want to act.
So 42 says, where do earnings come into this? Well, that was what I was explaining earlier, where you set up another company and your earnings can go into that, not as a salary. They go there. The work you do, you work for that company. So this week you could incorporate 42 Limited. And then your job, whatever you do, you work it out. So I don't know who you work for or anything, but you say to them, you're not employing 42 anymore. I want you to invoice. I'm going to invoice you for the services I provide you. It's the same money, whatever you get paid, but you'll be paying it to this company, 42 Limited. And then that money goes into there. And you don't just take your earnings, because then it's just the same as what it was before. That money just builds up in there. And when you do need a bit, you take dividends, which are taxed at such a smaller level. But ideally, you don't want to take any of those earnings. You want to leave them in that company. Then borrow money from the bank based on assets, which might be a house, might be investments, it might be your business. And so you don't need those earnings, because you've got the bank are giving you money. The bank are giving you 50 grand a year, maybe, or for the first year. And so your earnings are going into that business, not as a salary that gets taxed at a huge, if you're in the higher tax bracket, like 60% or something ridiculous, or even 20% is ridiculous. You just leave that building up in that company. And the funny thing is, and I think I've got this right, but again, check with a professional, you can then borrow money on the value of that business that has been taking what were previously your wages, your earnings. They're not now, they're that company owns that money. So you can say to the bank, sort us out 40 grand. There's 40 grand sitting in this business. And they know what you're doing. They're not stupid. They're not like, oh, hang on a minute. Because as soon as you borrow 40 grand from a bank, that bank is now worth 40 grand more plus interest. So while all that money is sitting in that account, you're spending money that you're borrowing. And you're not having to sell any of your assets. You're not selling your house. You're not selling your investments, etc., etc. Let's have a quick look at this little example she goes through here.
Sure as hell not as expensive as tax. Let's say you've got an asset that's gone up in value and you want to access 100 grand. If you sell even just a part of that asset, you trigger that dreaded capital gains tax I mentioned earlier, which in 25-26...
Mousecat says, you need to be on top of all your investments all the time to do this. Yeah, you do, but you can get a bookkeeper to do that for about £200 a month.
X is either 18% at lower rate or 24% at a higher rate. So straight away, HMRC could be taking 18,000 to 24,000 immediately. No installments, no mercy. Now compare that to borrowing. You borrow 100,000 against the same asset. Let's be conservative and we'll assume that it's an interest-only loan at 5%, just to keep the maths simple. I know interest rates are often variable after a fixed period, but we're keeping this simple. That's 5 grand a year. Now, even if you held that loan for 4 years, that's 20,000 in interest spread over time. Whilst you've still got the asset, you're still keeping that asset in your back pocket. And in almost all business situations, that interest is an allowable expense, meaning it can reduce your taxable profits elsewhere. So you're not choosing between free and expensive, you're choosing between expensive now and manageable over time. And this is where debt starts behaving in a way your brain doesn't like, but your spreadsheet does. Now, if this is already changing how you think about tax and debt, the next step is getting clarity on your own situation. Everything we talk about on this channel comes down to structuring money properly, not just earning more of it. If you want help applying this to you, there's a link below.
Muted, Chris.
That's when she gets into talking about her course and that's understandable. I'll give you the link to that video. I'll put it in the chat now. Go and watch some of the videos on her channel. And I'm not a financial advisor, but I have spoken to a lot and I've got very good friends who are. And without them, I'd be fucked now. I'd be absolutely fucked. It was only my mate who got me into investing a few years ago when I first started talking about it on here that has allowed me to still be going, and that has allowed me to buy my missus land. And she can now borrow on that land. We can borrow money on it. It's absurd. Right, excellent. Now, the next thing, massive change in subjects, but this is crazy. What's crazy about this? I tried to make a video about this. I made 3 videos about it. I made notes on it because it's a bit above my station, but I get enough of it to know why it's relevant. But the image that you see on OBS before you record isn't what you see. I wonder if I deleted them because I'd like to prove to you that even in the middle of my idiot sickness, I thought I've got to at least get a video out. And it was shocking. I think I might have deleted them. I can grab them out of the recycle bin though. Hang on. And imagine how I felt after actually scripting it. I got notes made into a PDF so that I could have them on the screen. I got the background up, and it all looked perfect. And when I saw the video, I thought, "Oh my days!" And it's so gutting when you do I've done 3 takes. The first one I fucked up halfway through. Second one I fucked up after about 18 minutes. And the third one I just was. It all came together, and it was worth doing the first 2 because I learned the script a bit better. And when I'd done the first one, I was like, yeah. The third one, I was like, yes, nailed it. Now just make a thumbnail. You know, it's artificial intelligence. Everyone's talking about it. Who's in that space? It'll get a load of views. You know, lovely. And then I watched it, and you'll see why I couldn't go live with it. And probably for the better, actually, because, you know, we'll watch the bloke who actually knows about it. So have a look at this just to get an idea. This is what it looks like in my folder. I'll see if I can make it a bit bigger. Now, why won't that page? Why? Maybe you can't do it with that. But can you see these 3 videos here where my cursor is? You know, they look. That looks all right, doesn't it? Looks sort of like, you know, nicely framed. Got a shirt on, nice cravat. So let's open one of them up. Oh no, I've got to restore it first, haven't I? Restore. Right, so that should be back in my videos file. Right, there it is. Hang on. Right, check this out. Why is the background like crisp, nice colours, everything, you know, balanced? Look at the state of it. Check it out, look. Oh, this is Can you hear that? Or I might have to put the audio on, hang on. But I just want to show you that I do try and work. I do try and bring things to you that might be of use. But look at it. I just couldn't make a video. I couldn't put that live, man. Absolutely massive. Out of 200 lines of text, strip 200. Hang on a minute. Is that bad? Let me know in the chat. Is that as bad as I think it was? I mean, it isn't great, but I'm now thinking I could have probably got away with that. But when I see JP doing that, hello, plot loser. Are you saying that because you read the Substack? Oh yeah, Bronstead Lowy bases. Maybe you're not saying it because of that. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Spanish chicken on the firm. Lovely to see you. Oh, you make me want to check my buy me a coffee. No donations on buy me a coffee. I'm gonna fucking die the rate things are going. How bad is that, people? Not good. Hello, my boy Tom. Not good. No, it's not good, is it? JP says it's okay. But hello, Bill. How are you, mate? You reminded me. You shouldn't have. Martin W. It all floods back. You are like a bitch that tries to start fights between drunk men in the car park. Unluckily for you, you don't get a female. Yeah, but it's the way it looks. 42. I'll mute myself. But look, yeah, look at what Wolsey says. He looks like a vampire. Yeah, it ain't nice, is it? Like, I'll mute myself. $85 billion off of the American stock market in a matter of days. 200 lines of plain text. Not a new product, not a new merger, not a lawsuit, just a short file of essentially prompts. We've talked about prompts before. Because we are in an industrial revolution. It's no more, is artificial intelligence going to be industrial? No, we're in it. And this is proof of it. This is evidence. This is why I'm telling you about it. This is the dummy's guide.
Muted, Chris.
Yeah, so I did actually spend a lot of time on that video, a lot of research, but we'll go to the horse's mouth. But let me just tell you I'll give you the summary. This is quite not complicated as such. There'll be some people in the chat who sort of understand this, more than I do. But there'll be some people who don't get it as such. But so Anthropic, they're an AI. They work with Claude. Claude is like Gemini. It's like ChatGPT. Is like Grok. These are large language models, what we know as artificial intelligence. And Anthropic released a plugin. Now we all know what a plugin is, right? You get them in games. You get a bit of software like, I don't know, Shopify, and then you've had it for a couple of years, and they know that there's something that's not as good as it should be. So you can get a plug-in, which is a bit of software that makes it better. So suddenly you can keep track of inventory going out and in, and it's an inventory plug-in. And then you can get a plug-in that does something else. So Claude released 200 lines of text, essentially prompts. Just prompts, because this is prompt world now. I've said to you before, if you've got children or if you're young-ish, you've got to get involved in learning how to use AI, how to use your GPTs, your Geminis, your Claudes, or Grok, any of them, because they say something like 99% of people are using 1% of the abilities of these things. It's sort of like they're using them in place of a Google search, really, whereas their real power is mind blowing. So as you'll see on this next video, if I can find it, there you go. They released 200 lines of code, a plugin essentially, and it took $285 billion. $285 billion wiped off the American stock market in a matter of minutes. 200 lines of prompts. It's absurd. Now this is what's even more crazy about it. I tried to make that video 3 days ago and it was already out of date. This happened 5 days ago. So actually I'm going to do something else. I'm going to show you. So the video I'm about to show you is 5 days old. But I'm going to show you another video from the same channel where he talks about the speed of change of large language models, of data centers and AI. A lot of things he says go over my head, and I imagine a lot of things he said will go over some of your heads as well. But he already says, let me just make sure I've got the right video. He already says that the video he made a day before is already out of date. Yeah, it's that one. It's that one. Right. So don't worry too much about the details, but listen to the way he talks about how fast things are getting, how quickly. You know, we talk about exponential. You know that who was that geezer that gave Chris Rock a slap? Keep my wife's name out of your face. Who was that, Packer?
Will Smith.
Will Smith. Do you remember there was that AI of him eating spaghetti, and it was just ridiculous, going. Ugh. Yeah, I'll find it. Because this all ties in. Right. Will Smith original eating spaghetti. Right. So this video come out, and it was an AI generated video of Will Smith eating spaghetti. And everyone watched it and was like, wow, that was done just with a prompt. Someone typed into an AI, make a video of Will Smith eating spaghetti. Now we're going to laugh. We laugh at this because we've seen where things have got. But I'll be able to compare this to the one they done like 6 months later. Have a look at this horrific video that people thought, you know, it's a bit like going back to your Spectrum, your ZX Spectrums and Commodore 64s and thinking, wow, computers are amazing. And then sort of 20 years later, the difference was, you know, mind blowing. So have a look at this. It's unpleasant to watch without doubt. I mean, look at his face.
That's hot. Uncle Phil, come try this. Fresh pasta of Bel Air.
Right, so people thought that was amazing. I mean, look at that image there. He looks like the geezer that presents Diary of a CEO. Right, Will Smith eating spaghetti update. And then it was about 6 months later. We might see both of them in this one. Oh, we do.
Will Smith eating spaghetti.
As AI started to develop, someone put in the prompt of Will Smith eating spaghetti. And so that became the test of
Will Smith.
Hang on, right. So can you still hear that, Packer, and see it and all that? Yeah? All right, so I think this might be a little video about it.
Eating spaghetti is the official benchmark of AI. 2023, AI couldn't even get hands right. 2024, faces improved, movement smoother.
Uncle Phil, come try this.
2025, almost real, but still uncanny. 2026, this.
So have you heard of Kling 3.0?
I heard it can create multiple scene cuts like this with a single prompt.
This is all AI.
And it knows when to cut to whoever is talking.
But did you know that all this audio was also generated with the same prompt?
I guess I didn't, sir.
Study harder, kid. Eat your spaghetti.
So there you go. So weirdly, Will Smith eating spaghetti has become like a sort of a benchmark of how good it's getting. And in a matter of 3 years, it went from like something from a nightmare to you wouldn't know that wasn't a movie. Now I'm going to show you the video that this fella, this geezer, I think his name's Nate Jones. He made this 2 days after the video I'm going to show you, and he tells you how the video that he made 2 days before about this 200 lines of text that wiped nearly 300 billion off the US stock market. And when you find out why, you're going to be going, well, that changes everything. But now he's going to explain to you that is already out of date. There's things in this video that I don't understand. We're only going to watch a couple of minutes because I just want you to get an idea of the speed that AI is growing at. Because now AI has got to the stage where it can just reprogram itself better. And once it's done it once, it can do it again and again and again. And the amount of tokens it can process. Amazon are spending something like 200 billion this year in capex, capital expenditure, in data centers. 200 billion investment. Meta have said, this all comes from their earning calls. I think Meta are doing something like 250 billion capex on AI. Google are. All of these companies, they know that this is where it's going. And if you don't keep up. So anyway, we'll watch a little bit of this. He's got a Substack as well, and it's very good because he goes into a little bit more detail and depth, which people like me who don't know the real ins and outs don't know so much about. But I just want you to get an understanding about the rate of change.
Claude Opus 4.6 just dropped, and it changed the AI agent game again.
Right. So what he just said there was Claude 4.6, and he said, "Did you hear him say it's changed the game again?" But it was Claude that changed the game 2 days before he made this video that wiped nearly 300 billion off the US stock market. And I'll tell you what companies are suffering. SaaS companies. Now, SaaS is SaaS. If you don't know, software as a service. That's what a SaaS company is. 10 years ago, everyone wanted SaaS. Here's why. I didn't have a SaaS company. I still haven't. I had a company that sold consumer durables, lockpicking tools. The thing about having a company that sells consumer durables is you've got to have somewhere that dispatches them, where people get addresses, put them on the front, get invoices, put them in the envelope, put the products in the envelope, send it out. Something like 16 million get nicked a day off of doorsteps in America. Someone orders something that costs like 400 quid and they say it didn't arrive. Even though you've got a photo of it on their doorstep, and even though there's a signature, if they've paid with PayPal or a bank card, you just have to take it. You can try and challenge it, but most of the time they side with the customer. They just say, no, they never got it. So unlucky. You're like, great. So people wanted software as a service where like, I'll use the example of a company we used called Bright Pearl. It was logistics, accountancy, and inventory software. And it was a game changer for us because all our purchase orders, all our PIs, all our inventory, all our customers, it was all in this database. Lovely. When we first got it, it was about $4,000. And then when we wanted, I was using it once and one of my staff logged in to do something and it logged me out. So I logged back in and then it logged them out. And so we're chatting on Slack and it's like, so I spoke to Bright Pearl and I said, every time someone logs in, it logs the other person out. And they were like, yeah, you have to pay for every login. And we were like, well, how much is that? And they were like, it's an extra $2,000 a year. Now, this was during COVID, and COVID was great for e-commerce companies because people weren't going out. They weren't going to restaurants, they weren't going to boozers, they weren't going to the cinema, they weren't spending money in getting pissed and doing cocaine. They were sitting at home on Amazon and buying stuff. So we were all right with that. But by about the third year, Bright Pearl was something like $30,000. Now, I don't want to quote these prices as fact. And I will say Bright Pearl is an amazing bit of software, but you've got to be able to afford it. And because we suddenly had like 9 staff who needed to access it, we just couldn't afford it. And we had to get rid of it. And we got something that we could afford. And I had staff crying. They were crying. Because you get used to a good bit of software and suddenly when a customer says, oh, this hasn't happened, instead of pressing one button and having all the information, you've got 3 different bits of software and you're having, and everything's taking like, what used to take 2 minutes is now taking you 20 minutes. And when you've got to do 50 of those a day, that changes your job. And in the end, we said, we can't use you anymore. So just listen to the little intro to this video that was made 2 days after the video I'm going to play you about Claude 4.6. And look what the video is called, Claude Opus 4.6. The biggest AI jump I've covered is not close. And then it explains why. So like I say, if you don't understand the details, it doesn't matter. This is just about the speed of change. This is an industrial revolution. We're already in it. And all those companies that didn't want consumer durables because of having to send things through the post and having dispatches and having things returned. Oh, it's easy. We just sit around with our feet up selling software, You just send them the software, give them a login. That's it. We haven't even got a warehouse. We're loving it. We're a SaaS business. They're all going to disappear within about a year. Listen to what I just said. The software as a service businesses are going to disappear within a year. And if you think software as a service is a little bit obscure, this includes things like paralegals, solicitors. When we've tried to trademark things in the past, when we try and get a trademark, they don't sit there like searching manually or all that. They use software so that they can make sure that no one else has got that trademark, that it's legal for you to have that trademark, so that they can get all the forms filled in, so that there's no litigation hiding around the corner. They've got software that will do that they've had built for them, custom by coders. When you talk to a solicitor, we had to then talk to a solicitor at a cost of about $4,000 about this trademark, just to like double checks and balances. They were using like legal software that makes sure everything's all in order. They still need to be a lawyer to be able to use it, but they could make that, they're just putting stuff into software. I know that Philip Swain, who comes on here occasionally, he knows that AI is going to radically affect his business. Like the amount of times we have to talk to a lawyer, even though I know we're going to be all right, you have to do it just because if there's just that odd chance, it could cost you everything. I mean, I'm not involved in that business anymore, so it's not a problem. But anyway, let's talk about the speed and then we'll watch the actual video.
Because 16 Claude Opus 4.6 agents just coded and set the record for the length of time that an AI agent has coded autonomously. They coded for 2 weeks straight, no human writing the code, and they delivered a fully functional C compiler. For reference, that is over 100,000 lines of code in Rust. It can build the Linux kernel on 3 different architectures. It passes 99% of a special, quote, torture test suite developed for compilers. It compiles Postgres. It compiles a bunch of other things, and it cost only $20,000 to build, which sounds like a lot for you and me, but it's not a lot if you're thinking about how much human equivalent work it would cost to write a new compiler. I keep saying we're moving fast, and it's even hard for me to keep up. A year ago, autonomous AI coding could top out at barely 30 minutes before the model lost the thread. Barely 30 minutes, and now we're at 2 weeks. Just last
a year ago, you could get something. You could get a bit of software like Claude Opus, and it would burn out after 30 minutes of writing code. 30 minutes. A year later, they got this thing, no human involvement, to write code perfectly for 2 weeks.
summer, Rakuten got 7 hours out of Claude, and everybody thought it was incredible. 30 minutes to 2 weeks in 12 months. That is not a trend line. That is a phase change. The entire world is shifting.
Did you hear that? That is a phase change. The entire world is shifting. And that's not because he's a nerd and he's in that world. This is an industrial revolution. This is what I keep telling you. And it's not just an industrial revolution. Look at the last industrial revolution. You could argue it was the internet, but I don't think that was really. I think that was like a communications revolution. But automation and mechanization at the end of the 19th century changed everything. It absolutely changed the way we live on certainly the northern hemisphere. And it's happening now. And it's happening at a rate you would not believe. 30 seconds running to 2 weeks in a year.
Even one of the
Just listen to that last line he said again.
Everybody thought it was incredible. 30 minutes to 2 weeks in 12 months. That is not a trend line. That is a phase change. The entire world is shifting. Even one of the Anthropic researchers involved in the project admitted what we're all thinking. I did not expect this to be anywhere near possible so early in 2026. Opus 4.6 shipped on February 5th. It has been just over a week, and the version of cutting edge that existed in January, just a few weeks ago, that already feels like a lifetime ago. Here's how fast things are changing just in Anthropic's own roadmap. Opus 4.5.
Anthropic is the company that put out the 200 lines of code that took 300 billion off of the stock market because all those software as a service companies, no one wants them anymore. No one wants to invest in them anymore. Everyone's sold because they were going, because you can sit at home and in a year or 6 months, you and me, with the little we know, unless you do know more, but I'm not pretending to know about this stuff, we'll be able to speak to your computer and say, can you write me a bit of software so that I can organize X, Y, Z? And it will go, sure. And it will do it. And then it will say, what do you want to do with this data? And then you might, it could be something as simple as just your photographs. You might say, can you put all the photographs of me in one file? And it will do it. It will write that software for you. And every photo where it recognizes you, it will put in one file. And then you might be able to say, any photos of me in Thailand, put in another photo. It might not be 100%, but it'll be pretty close. You'll have to give it, obviously, some kind of, I don't know what the word is, I don't know what the word is, but you'll be able to tell your, like your Chat GPTs, your Geminis, your Claudes, your Groks, to write you software to do things in your business as well as your life. You won't need the likes of Bright Pearl. You won't need the likes of Shopify. Shopify, when you go to a shop online, they're nearly all Shopify. You got the odd one that's like Wix and Squarespace, but they're so limited. But even those, they'll be gone. You don't need Wix. In a year, this is how you'll make a website. You'll have a blank page and you'll go, design a logo. No, you can go back further than that. You can say, right, I've got a company where I'm just trying to think of a very simple business. Say you're a psychotherapist. I've got a company, I'm a psychotherapist. I don't know what to call it. And then the computer will say back to you in a human voice of your choice. It can be anyone someone real who exists, or you can just make one up. And it will say, well, okay, give us your name. Where did you study? What's your style? Blah, blah, blah. And then it'll present loads of names to you for the potential names for your company. But more, it will crawl the internet. It will crawl its own data set, and it will get all the SEO and all the SEM and find out the best name for your company based on trends, Google trends, searches, what distinguishes you from others, all that sort of stuff. So it won't just come up with a name like, Dangerfield's Therapy. It will come up with something that is plugged in to the entire ecosystem. Oh, did I just drop out Packer by accident? I'm sure I'll be back in a minute. And so then it'll come up with your company name. But like I say, based on searches, trends, SEO, SEM, all that sort of stuff. Then you'll say, I need a logo. And again, it'll make you a logo, but it won't just be a logo based on what looks nice. It'll be based on human psychology. It will go through a history of therapy logos, and it will base it on it could even test it. It could test it live on humans just by putting it on Facebook, putting it on Instagram, and seeing how many people click on it and all that sort of thing. And then you'll go, right, okay, now I'd like sort of, a nice picture of someone looking happy, a couple looking happy sort of somewhere. And you'll just build a website like that. You won't need Shopify. You won't need this. You won't need that. You won't need any of those SaaS companies. So now I'll take you to the original video. And this has got a lot less sort of AI detail in it. And I can add to it. So yeah, this video came out 5 days ago. And Nate Jones has already made a video saying it's already out of date. And this is the one about the 200 lines that took 300 billion in SaaS companies off the stock market. Madness.
A 200-line prompt just killed $285 billion in market value. That's right. A markdown file, not a product, not a platform, a markdown file from some product manager at Anthropic erased $285 billion in market cap on the stock market in just 48 hours. On January 30th, Anthropic released a set of plugins for Claude Cowork, its desktop AI tool. One of them handles legal contract review. It can triage NDAs, it can flag non-standard clauses against a negotiation playbook, and
Right, so did you hear all that? It can check out NDAs, it can check out legal documents, it can check out compliance, things where you're used to have to go to a lawyer and say, look, I've got this contract, can you just make sure it's compliant, make sure that the non-disclosure agreement's all, tight, and all this other stuff. Well, this Anthropic fella released this bit of code, these prompts, and Claude can now do that for you and do it for you at a level where you can trust it. What does that mean for the legal profession? And on top of that, when I was telling you about Bright Pearl wanted us to pay for each person that logged on. And that's how most of these SaaS companies work. If you're using another, I don't want to keep saying Brightpearl because I don't want to get sued, but if you're using a company and you've got 400 people at your business and they all log on, you're paying for 400 logons. But now people know, now that the people buying these software as a service know that these things can be knocked up on the likes of Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT in a matter of minutes, they ain't paying that. They're not paying that sort of money. And there's already, I mean, the fact that 300 billion got stripped off the US stock market is I think that's a fair amount of proof, 300 billion. But already people are going to their suppliers of these software as a services, and they're saying, we ain't paying you that much because we now know that it doesn't cost you anything to make this stuff. And there's real world examples of companies saying, yeah, fair enough. They're leveraging the existence of AI with their companies. So if this had have happened back in the Brightpearl days, I would have said to Brightpearl, look, you can keep us, and we're happy to pay X amount, but you and I know in 6 months, I'll be able to knock up something like Brightpearl using Claude, using ChatGPT. And you know that and they will have known that because they'll be shitting themselves. And it'll be like, so if you're prepared to make it a slightly fairer price, because also with software as a service, you've got onboarding. And onboarding is getting all your data into it. And that used to be a question of someone typing it all in. All your customers, all their addresses, their phone numbers, everything they've ordered, all that sort of stuff. But AI can do that now. AI can do that just by looking through your CSV files, looking through your annual accounts. It can just read it. It can do it for you, as you'll hear him start talking about.
Generate a ton of compliance summaries, the kind of work that until last week required a paralegal. Maybe
last week you'd need to pay a paralegal thousands of pounds for that work. Now you don't.
Westlaw subscription, something that had to do with billable hours, right? The plugin is open source. Anyone can read it. And when people did, they found roughly 200 lines of structured markdown prompts.
And that's a mad thing. It was open source. You obviously know what that means. It's kind of self-explanatory, but it wasn't sort of like, oh, we've got this bit of code and, these prompts and we're not going to let you see them. No, Claude were quite happy to say, check out what we've done. Check out what's going to happen to industry. And when industry changes at this kind of rate, that's an industrial revolution.
First-year law school content dressed up with some clever workflow logic. It's basically a fancy prompt. It's shipped with a little disclaimer. All outputs should be reviewed by licensed attorneys. I'll bet. By Monday morning, Thomson Reuters had posted its biggest single-day stock decline on record. It's down 16%. RELX, the parent company of LexisNexis, fell 14%. LegalZoom cratered at 20%.
So these are all legal software as a service companies just plummeting. And did you hear him say in that sort of snarky tone? He said at the bottom, it said, all processes should be passed, something like should be passed through an official solicitor or something like that. It says that, but it doesn't. You don't really have to do that because it knows what it's doing. Like I was doing something with ChatGPT a while back, and it was something serious. I can't remember what it was. And I said, listen, it is the problem, Mush. I said at the bottom here of every page, it says ChatGPT can make mistakes. And I said, and I can't afford that with this project. And ChatGPT said to me, oh, you can ignore that. That's just us covering our ass. He said, don't worry about that. Send it to me. Now, it still could be covering its ass, but, it said that's just legal nonsense. It said, "Why would I make a mistake?" It's just zeros and ones to me.
The idea. The selling spread to private equity from there. Ares Management, KKR, and TPG all dropped about 10%.
He's talking about companies that went down the pan a day after Claude put out 200 lines of open source prompts. That is incredible. That's crashing a particular area of the stock market overnight with just a few lines.
If AI compresses the cost of legal and financial analysis, then every firm charging premium fees for that analysis has a big margin problem because
They've got more than a margin problem. They've got a future problem. They're not going to be required. Look at financial advisors. I've got friends who are financial advisors. For a living, people go to them, "Oh, I've just inherited £500,000. And, I don't know what to do with it." And he says to them, you want to put 400,000 in the S&P 500, and then he'll have a little tap on his computer and he'll say, "And if you'd like to take a risk on a couple of individual stocks, you might want to look at this one and this one." Now, his cut is something like 18% of their profits. 18%. If this is a 20-year investment, that $500,000 will likely be about 4 or 5 mil in 20 years, and he'll have 18% of that. He won't be needed. He's already not needed. The software and the processing power exists in all of yours house right now. It's just a question of knowing how, that sort of UI has to improve a little bit, so that you don't need to go to an independent financial advisor. And he's had to go to school, so to speak, not like university, but he's had to be certified. He's got about 8 of those things on his wall that he studied this. He had to go to night school for like 3 years. Because he's dealing with big sums of people's money. And he sometimes gets it wrong. But your computer can do that now. Your computer, the one you're sitting in front of, can do that now. You could say to Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, "I've got X amount of money. What would be the best way for me to invest this? A risk..." And you'd say something like, I'd like a low risk investment," and then ChatGPT will say to you, "Well, how much are you looking at? What's your investment term?" All the questions a financial advisor would ask you, but the large language models have got far more information at their fingertips. Like even just a year ago, the investment channels on YouTube, at the end, it was all about being able to value a company. They could have a great earnings call. Their capex is good. The money they're spending to get new customers has gone down. Their revenue's gone through the roof. There's definitely a place for them in the future. The management are proven and proven again. Great. But unless you know how to value a company, and there's different ways of valuing a company, there's different metrics, there's different sort of algebra, times this by this, minus the EBITDA, all this nonsense. And at the end of these videos, people would always say, but if you want to learn how to get a real valuation, and then you'll know whether that company is overvalued. And if it's overvalued, you don't buy the stock. But if it's undervalued, you buy it, because stocks tend to find their right level, and that's what a financial advisor would tell you. But you can go to any of those large language models now and just say, "Do me a valuation on Palantir. Do me a valuation on Amazon." And then you can say, right, so once you've got your value, how much is that company really worth? And it might say $210 a share. And that stock might be trading at 150. So you're like, sweet, that's a bargain. I'll take it. But then you can start asking other questions. And I do this to ChatGPT all the time. I say, listen, work as an aggregator. Find as many financial services online and give me a bar chart showing whether stock X, so whatever stock I'm looking at, tell me whether it's a strong sell, a sell, a hold, a strong hold, a buy, or a strong buy, sorry. 30 seconds later, there's my bar graph, better than anything a financial advisor can do. And you couldn't even do that like a year ago. And it's an industrial revolution. And we're right in the middle of it. We'll listen to a bit more of what he's got to say.
Can't charge that much, not next year, and maybe not now. But here's what almost nobody is saying clearly enough. The markdown file itself is not the cause. It just revealed what has been going on for a while. The per-seat SaaS licensing model, the financial bedrock that the entire...
He's talking about that each log on, getting charged for each person logging on. That's what, when he says per seat model, that's what he's talking about.
Enterprise software economy has been built on for 20 years. It was already cracking. The market just hadn't priced it in yet because, frankly, Wall Street doesn't understand AI that well. So this crash wasn't really about Claude. And we should be precise about what actually happened because the narrative has already crystallized into Anthropic crashed the software market. And that framing, while it's fun for headlines, misses the real structural story. What Anthropic actually shipped was a set of open source starter plugins, basically templates that any company can customize for their own workflows very easily. The legal plugin was one of 11. It was very competent, but it's not by itself revolutionary. Any decent prompt engineer could have assembled something comparable in an afternoon. So why did it move $285 billion? Because the plugin made visible what the market has been quietly worrying about for months. If a text file can approximate the core workflow of a $60 billion revenue legal information industry, then that whole pricing model that the industry is built on has a big structural problem.
You could say that a $60 billion industry can be taken over by one prompt line. By I tell you what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. It's been an awful stream for donations, but I get it. Everyone's skin, not just me. I'm just nothing over there. But I hope you've enjoyed the things I've told you. I would, especially if you're young, if you're under 35 or even under 40, look into get financially literate. And I don't just mean watch a couple of YouTube videos, hook up with someone, have a meeting with them, tell them what you're doing, and they will explain to you how to better manage your money so you're not getting taxed the fuck out of, and how you can live by borrowing money on assets. And you might be saying, yeah, but I haven't got any assets. Well, you might not have now, but if you start building up and gain some assets, like you might just do a simple DCA model, dollar cost averaging on the S&P. Do that for 20 years, 450, 400 quid a month. Historically, you've got 3 million tax-free in 20 years. So if you're 20, and if you can find 450 quid a month, work as many jobs as it requires. Don't go out taking cocaine. Cocaine's full of levasimol. It's a horse wormer. I nearly put a bit in my Substack piece about it, but I'm going to do a different thing about it because all my friends still take cocaine and it's turning people black. Not joking. Let me show you. It's absolutely disgusting. Levamisole, that's it. Levamisole cocaine. I'll go to images. I know you can't see this. I mean, I hate cocaine. You've heard me say it before. It turns strangers into friends and it turns friends into strangers. Who wants that? What a horrible thing. Has anyone here ever seen a party get better when the cocaine arrives? No, it just gets really intense and everyone's each other's best. It's just hideous. But the difference is this. When I was dealing in cocaine, it would be pure, which is about 92% cocaine hydrochloride. And that 8% is the hydrochloride salt. And when you wash that up, you'd have your free base cocaine, just base cocaine. And you'd cut it. Of course you'd cut it. You're not gonna go through all the trouble of going to fucking Margarita Island out in Venezuela and deal with people who, carrying weapons and all that bullshit. To sort of, you can jump on a proper grade Peruvian flake. You can jump on 3 times, and so you cut it. But the problem is, cuts weren't getting through a crack wash, and so when people were testing their coke, it was like, well, hang on a minute. There's loads of adulterants in this because that isn't free base cocaine. That's free base cocaine, but they've cut this. It's not pure. But that levacimol gets through a crack wash. Now that might not sound like anything. Most drugs have got some adulterants in them. Have a look at what this levacimol does to you. Now, trigger warning: this ain't pleasant. And these aren't people who are injecting the stuff. This is going up your nose. Not all of them, in fairness. But these aren't pleasant images. And this isn't the effect of cocaine. This is the effect of levacimol. It's an animal wormer. But what's made it weird is they're cutting it at source now. They're cutting it in Bolivia, in Colombia, in Peru, in Venezuela. Look at this geezer here, look. Went out for a weekend. Look, toxic effects of levamisole in a cocaine user. Look, he went black. There's some of these leg pictures are absolutely rotten. Look at these pins. Fucking hell, man. And that ain't even the cocaine. That's the cut, and they're doing it at source. Now in England, even I used to cut my product with inositol. It's a classic cut, and because you've got some kind of ethics. I don't want my customers, who are mainly friends, to be putting poison up their snouts. But a bit of inositol actually strengthens your nasal cavities. So I tell myself I was actually helping them out a bit. But look, levamisole-induced vasculitis in a cocaine user. Look at that, man. Imagine waking up every night. And I keep telling my mates, they're like, oh, come on, it's only a couple of grams at the weekend. I'm like, right, well, if that's been cut 40%, and when you say, when any drug user tells you how much they're taking, you can at least double it. So when he says it's only a couple of grams at the weekend, all right, so it's 4 grams at the weekend at least. And if that's cut at 40%, let's say 50 for the maths, and you're doing 4 grams, you're snorting 2 grams of animal wormer. How long do you think it's going to start making your legs go like that? And I've read the articles. You don't go to the doctors and get a couple of tablets and it all goes away. It's rotting. You're rotting away. Here's the other scary bit. When I said they're finding it, they're cutting it at source. They don't give a shit about England and America, where most of the cocaine goes, by the way. They don't give a shit about us. They'd rather, if they're going to stick up their nose, well, they can have some of this as well. It's cheap, it gets through a crack wash. That's the important bit. I don't want to go into chemistry of it, I'll get in trouble. But the fact that it gets through that is what. Look at that, Jesus! Oh, this is the worst one. Look at that. Look at that. Jesus, man. And this is all the effects of prohibition. I mean, I don't like cocaine. It's a horrible drug. It only ever got popular because it's expensive. I mean, speed's better, and it's like £1 an ounce. Doug Stanhope says whenever they do a drugs bust, when it's cocaine, it's money. You know, like $250,000 worth of cocaine was found in a bust in Florida at the weekend. Yeah, that's like 4 kilos, okay. But with speed, it's always weight. 6 kilograms of speed or methamphetamine was found in Florida the weekend. Because if you done it by money for speed, it would be like 40 quid. You can make it in your bath. 40 quid of speed was found. Look at these pins though. Look, hang on. How's that cocaine going? All right. Fucking hell, man. I make jokes a lot about drugs, and I don't want to tell you what to do with your lives. I do actually. I want you to make your own choices. But if you're a regular cocaine user, well, you know, I've seen cocaine kill more people than any other drug, crack especially. It puts so much demand on the heart. But it's time to stop. In 2022, so 4 years ago, 80% of the cocaine that was tested, that was, you know, found by the DEA, had levacimol in it. 80%. Now, I know your dealer gets the best stuff because everyone's dealer gets the best stuff. But trust me, everyone's dealer is treading on it. And out in Peru, Colombia, Bolivia, Venezuela, that's now part of the process. You know, they've got their coca leaves, they've got their ammonia, they've got their their sodium hydrochloride, whatever, and they've got their levacimol. I would suggest not doing cocaine really strongly. So there you go. Right. I'm gonna end on where I started. If I can sell 10 copies of this today, I will likely get into the top 100 of autobiographical fiction. So I'm not trying to make you buy it, but if you've already decided to buy it but just haven't got round to it, because the way Amazon works, it's velocity spikes. If I sell about 10 of these today, I will probably get in that top 100. And because I'm going wide next week, that means a lot. It could be life-changing for me, literally. Because when the likes of independent bookshops and libraries and all that go to Amazon, they see that top 100 in British and Irish literary fiction, tick. Number 1 in new releases, tick. And then if they see number 1 in biographies and autobiographical fiction, tick, they order 10 books. And then the next shop does, and the next shop does. And then you get into a feedback loop because people buy them, they tell their friends buy them, etc., etc. And it's been my dream to make a living as a writer since I was like 18. And it could happen. So I'm not begging you, but if you've got value down there, out of the 10 years that I've been making this stream, and you haven't bought that book, consider it after this video. Link in the description, or just go to Amazon and type in Love in the Time of Nudie Mags. There won't be much more shilling of that book on this channel. It's sort of run its course. Now it's going wide. I'll be doing some events in the UK. That's all getting organised now. It'll probably be June, July, but I'll make sure you all know in advance. They'll be quite cool as well. I'll do a bit of stand up. I'm not going to do a reading. Imagine, just Matt usually comes with us. No, I'll talk about the book, but I'll do it in like a stand-up way. I'll improvise and it'll be funny as fuck. And I'm going to try and get it in one of the old members clubs. I'll try and get it in Jerry's. I've got a lifetime membership to Jerry's, and they don't open on a Sunday. So because I know I'll be able to fill it, I might be able to get them to open on a Sunday. Then I'll have a sit down and an interview, only like 20 minutes. You won't get bored. And then we'll have an evening, a few hours on the piss. We can just all sit around, scrubs who've, wanted this to happen for years. I'll sign all your books. If you've already bought it, bring them. And I'll get a lot of, I was thinking I'll get a lot of Polaroids as well and get little photos of you and me. We can stick them in your book, all that lark. Yeah, there'll be some events going on in London. I might try and do Manchester and Edinburgh, but these things cost money to set up. And when you're getting £7 for a 2-hour stream at 4:30 in the morning on Sunday night when you're sick as a dog, I don't have a lot of money. But maybe the poor showing on the donations is because people are buying the books. And when I wake up tomorrow and look in my Amazon, I will have broken that top 100. That's the kind of optimism you need in this world. Right, my headache's absolutely banging. Packer, what did you make of... Whoa. What did you make of today's stream?
Well, that was very interesting.
Two
very
sick boys.
Stream. Eh?
Two sick boys, me and you.
Yeah, no, thank God you turned up. Thank you, chat. I love you all. You've made my weekend. I felt really lousy. I'm so glad you all came.
No way, that's amazing.
I might even get up and go to work tomorrow.
Ludwig, if you're not joking, that's amazing. Amazing. It could be like 5, it could be 10, but if I could do that, yeah, nice one, man. Yeah, no, it'd be lovely, man. Yes. Yeah, so that's the evening really. I'll do 25 to 30 minutes talking about the book, but in like a stand-up way. I won't be reading. I might read from it, but then tell you what actually happened and a few sort of external things that aren't in the book that, book adjacent things. Then it will be like an interview. I'll get someone funny or interesting or maybe fun. I might be able to get some celebrities to come along. Not because anyone gives a shit about them, but they make it funny when you turn around and Kate Moss is there. It's funny, isn't it? It's just like, what? What's happening? I've never felt comfortable in those people's company, but that's why I love it. They're these sort of superhumans with very little to offer. And then I'll do a Q&A. Yeah, that'll be the end of it. And then it will just be a piss up or whatever your tipple is. People in Jerry's don't really mind. But we'll have no snorting Lavassimo. I'll be chucking anyone out who gets on the old fucking powder. Nah. I'll have that above the door. It'll be brilliant to see you, man.
I'll turn up and sit behind you and say nothing if you want.
I think that would actually make sense. I think people would understand that. But what would be lovely is this again, me thinking marketing. The reason I want to get a couple of Polaroid cameras there, I know you've got iPhones and Androids and all that, but then people, like me, Ludwig, the book, arms round on social media, more marketing. Got to think like that. If this doesn't work, I don't know what I'm going to do. Which is why it will work, because I need that pressure. Anyone got a suggestion for the outro music? anyone, not including Picard. Only because I think you done it last time. Hello, Cole. Oh, it's finishing now. Or maybe you're watching it earlier from the beginning. Spanish Chicken says, get some eggs down your neck. For food on. Hello, for food on. Are you new here? Nice
Doesn't
to
look
see
like
you.
it.
42's trying to arrange something, Packer. I'll have to talk to you about it.
Yes,
Nice
he
one,
is, yeah.
Dennis. That'd be lovely. Get that done. The link's in the description. But if I could get a few of those sold today and break that 100, it was 129 yesterday. I thought I'm going to do it. Wookie says that Packer deserves a raise. Yeah, no problem. JP's going to buy another one and send it to his sister. Fair play. Absolutely fair play. It will be, yeah, but I think we should only do short clips, like shorts, because I think that I mean, we'll discuss this leading up to it. It'll be tickets only, and you'll have to get them in advance. But I want to make it something that people will enjoy, and if we film it, they sort of get to enjoy it. Whereas, if you don't go, the mythos is a little bit more sort of exciting, isn't it? People go, "Well, what happened? What was it like?" You go, "Well, you should have fucking gone." Oh, Monster Traps is going to buy a copy now. Amazing. This is lovely seeing everyone come through with buying one. Spanish Chicken's going to buy one later, and he says, "Cheers, Chris and Packer." Great stuff. This is all very, very kind of you. Dress code. Well, obviously, I would like it to be 3-piece suits. I don't think Michael at Jerry's will be too happy about jeans and T-shirts, but he'll be making money from booze behind the bar, so, I think we'll be all right. Dennis says that people think Packer will be the minder.
Shuts on
I am,
Monday.
Mousecat. I'm having to. I'll get another. I'm already about 6,000 words into the second one in this series. It's the same character at 16. My new Substack, I'm very proud of. Go and check it out on Substack, people, because it's got photos in it and all that, and not all email. What do they call them? There's a name for it, isn't there? Well, not all emails will have it all, so watch it on Substack. But I'm very proud of that short. It goes all over the place. Yeah, it would be weird without Packer, and I owe Packer and his missus a very nice night out, and I'm going to take them to Scott's in Mayfair.
Wait till you're rich and famous, Chris, because then I'll enjoy it more because you'll be a celebrity.
No. No, you're coming out. I'll probably. Do you like seafood? Yeah, of course you like seafood. The crabs and lob. What
No,
crab
I
and
don't
lobster?
No, I don't do fish.
Well, in that case, it's going to have to be the Dean Street Townhouse Porterhouse, isn't it? Which I think Anglo the other day said was
Only got
like
to find me a steak and I'll be happy. That'll do.
No, I want you to have a nice night out where we can all dress up like Ponces and, have a nice time. Bottle of champagne and all that. Spanish Chicken's normally combats and sweatshirt. You'll be all right. We I'll hire the room. It won't be a normal night at Jerry's. I'll hire it because it's not usually open on Sundays. Thank you, Mousecat, for your encouragement. Yeah, I will make it work because it's not only about me. I mean, I know that if it was just me and it didn't work out, I'll just do something naughty. But I've got a missus now, and that's not an option. So I've got to go by the rules. I felt that look then. Just look down like, yeah. All right, people. All right, plot loser. All right. I will do new shoes. I'll be putting your messages on the screen, people. which is another way of saying you've got a good 5 minutes to buy me a coffee or super chat. All the people who said they're going to buy my novel, that's, if you do, that's lovely. That, you know, thank you very much for helping me possibly make my dream come true that I've had for the last 40 odd years. Wow. Packer, I'll let you go, mate. Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on. Whoa. Peter Wall donated £2. Cheers for the stream. I'm normally tight. That's all right, mate. Well, you're not tonight. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you very much. Are you new here, Pete Wall? Well, I try and stream as much as I can. I've just been a bit busy recently because the novel only came out a couple of months ago. But yeah, look out for it. Maybe if you're not subscribed, subscribe, and maybe see you again. I hope you're new because maybe you've been lurking. I don't know. It always gets a bit socially awkward when I'm not sure. Right, let me grab that then. Stop talking, you. Right, Picard, I'll let you go. I'll catch up with you. We'll have a little debriefing. It's now 4:45 in the morning here.
Cheers, Scrubs. Thank you all for coming. You make my weekend.
Yeah, he said that he wasn't happy and he is now. How lovely is that? Show Packer some love in the chat, please, people. Hello,
Really
Joan.
good,
How are you, love? What an absolute treat to see you. Yay. See you later, Packer. I'll talk to you in a minute. Ta-da. We have these funny little debriefings. Nice to see you, Joan. I hope you're well. There you go. That made sense. Not a problem. Hyphen Mods, I've probably said that wrong. I've been here a few times earlier in the year, but like you said, life is busy. Yeah, it is. It gets difficult. It gets tricky. I'm just finding as I get older, I can't get as much done. You know, someone said to me today, I've got back in contact with an old friend. He's a professor now. You know, it's weird. He's a professor, and I'm very proud of him. I really like the bloke. I've always liked him. And he said him and his boy. When I last see his boy, he was so young that my mate told him I was doing yoga, and he leant over to his son and he went, "Chris is Spider-Man." And the kid was like, and you know, I wasn't very good at yoga then because I was like 23. I'm still all right, but not as good as I was then. And I said to him, I don't want to name him. I said, how's so? He went, well, he said, well, he's 25. I was like, fucking hell. In my head, he was still like 4. But I was talking to him earlier and he said, we watch a lot of your streams. He said, we watch a lot of the Dragon's Den ones, he says, and we're just crying from start to finish. He said, but it must take it out of you. And I said, it didn't used to. I said, but if I do a 2 or 3 hour stream now, the next morning, and look, I'm not joking, it's 10 to 5 a.m. And when I wake up at about 1, 2 in the afternoon, I will be fucked. Because for 2 hours, 20 minutes, I've had to be alert mentally to questions, to the videos, to responding to them, talking to Packer, talking about, you know, I'm not saying it's hard work. I'd rather be doing this than working oil rigs. Another donation. How lovely. Ludwig dropped a 10-bit. Bit of ribeye action. Get ya. Scrubbers. Hoit. Nice one. Appreciated, Ludwig. Very kind. It'd be amazing to meet some of you people. I met a load of you when we done one about 8 years ago, the Chinese prescription. But I think only Wolfie and maybe one more from that is still here. So yeah, be meeting loads of new people. There'll be good events. I don't put on a rubbish event. I've put on events before because I was a comedian and I realised why get promoters to put on events and then they give me a few quid. Whereas if I promote my own event, I'm not paying a middleman. What, to ring up a hall? Oh my God, fucking banging headache coming on now. That is time telling me to stop. So here's a little bit of music for you. It's one you all know and love. It's by 90s band Household, and it's a song called New Shoes. I'd like to apologize to any children in the room. There might be drug references in this song. Ta-ta. Hello, Jed.
I'm stupid, I'm lazy, but in the discotheque I still look crazy. Love me, baby, I only tell lies cause the truth escapes. Summertime, we can get new shoes. I'll have brown and you can get the blues. I'm knackered, I'm fading, but in the right light I still look vaguely human. Happy it won't be long before we cave in. Summertime, we can get new shoes. I'll have brown and you can get the blue.
That's great news, John.
You can get the
Bye-bye, Nick. I appreciate it. All right.
Don't worry about my heroin addiction, it's only slight. I need you, love me, and I feel the same again tonight. Summertime, we can get new shoes. I'll have brown and you can get the blue. You can get the get the blue. You can get the blue.
Lovely, lovely song. I just want to go for hello, Baz. That was very kind of you, Spanish chicken. I thought it was funny what Bill said. He said, I can't remember exactly, but he said something like, pipe down a bit, Packer. Sometimes less is more. So here we go. This tune is sitting in my parents' kitchen every evening when they were on their way out during the coof. Scrubs helped a lot back then. Oh, fair play. It's weird because my first memories of it were obviously making it, that period of my life. But now when I hear it, it's that coof period for me as well. That's like the rank of memories. Packer dropped a lady in. Cheers, Chris. Thanks for having me, Packer. It's an absolute pleasure. I mean, you pretty much bought your dinner with all the donations you give. So come on, I've got to take you out. Glass dropped a lady in. I'll buy another. Thank you. And all these people buying copies, they're all more reviews as well. You can't keep me happy, mate. You can leave another review too. Email me if you want me to write a review. Thank you, Emma. Bless you. I might even read it again. Did you love it, Emma? Talking about love. Anyway, 42. There you go. 42. Let's sort out this thing. I don't want to say what it is. I'll talk to Packer about it now, and we'll somehow get it done. Billy Blogg said, Cialis, such gay brag. Well, there you go, people. It's been an absolute pleasure. Ban says that Jimmy hasn't streamed for a month now. No, but he was on here last week and he was looking well, so that's good. The coof is when we realise the importance of being scrubs. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It felt, you know, I was doing 3 a day sometimes, and I just, because we didn't really have it here, I couldn't believe how many people were turning up 2 or 3 times a day, and I thought, they must be having it rough, man. Anyway, look after yourselves, people. If you do want to get a copy of that, today could help me beyond belief. And thank you to everyone who's pledged their support. If you want to get a bit of that Dangerfield lyrical magic up your head, my new Substack it's one of I think it's my best Substack, actually. That might not, obviously won't mean it will necessarily be yours, but I think it's a new direction I'm going to go in with my Substacks. More like my magnum opus. They're not like standard structured narratives. It's just, they're almost gonzo, but not gonzo. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Packer. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ludwig. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jay Taylor, and everyone else. Hoyt.